Hi there, I hope you're doing well today. I've got my movies and TV scenes sketchbook out, so we're going to be painting a second painting in this series. The last one we did was The Mandalorian. I'm so happy with how this one turned out. If you haven't watched this video, I'll leave a link just here. Today, we're going to be painting a scene from Harry Potter. I'm really excited and I hope you enjoy. Today I'm painting a scene from Deathly Hallows Part 2. I think as far as scenes go, this one is quite ambiguous. I don't think it's super obvious what film it's from, and that's kind of what I wanted to do for this scene series. I was rewatching Harry Potter series, as I do every year, and I got about halfway through and I thought, oh, wouldn't it be good to paint a scene from this? And I thought that there would be a lot of scenes I could choose from the final movie because, I mean, so much happens, it's so dramatic. But honestly, a lot of the scenes, when you actually keep an eye out, a lot of the scenes in the final movie are just up close of the characters' faces, really, and I think there would have been a lot more choice in the earlier Harry Potters, to be honest. I think the buildings, there was just a lot more that you possibly could do. A lot of the scenes in the final one either included really up close faces or very difficult locations because everything was being destroyed. So I went for this scene, which I obviously didn't realise when I chose it, actually how similar it kind of looks to the top one. I don't know how I absolutely missed that the subject on this one kind of looks like The Mandalorian loosely, and also the colours are very similar, so my future ones I'm gonna have to keep an eye out for that. It looks really quite similar to The Mandalorian somehow. As far as the Harry Potter franchise goes, I didn't watch it correctly. My parents were very keen on us not watching fantasy films that they deemed to be silly, so I wasn't able to actually watch the Harry Potter series until I was in college, and then I decided to watch it on my own accord. And by that point, like, every single film had already been out, so I think my experiences with Harry Potter are very different to the majority of everyone else's. I mean, for starters, I've not read the books, and I bought the entire DVD collection, and that's the only way that I've watched them. I mean, firstly, I don't associate it with J.K. Rowling at all, because I don't have any of that connection. And secondly, it meant that rather than just watching one film and having a bit of a break, the very first time I watched it was basically me binge watching it in a couple of days. And all of the films kind of blend together by doing it this way. The problem with watching 8 films pretty much in one go for the first time is I couldn't really distinguish between each of the films. So I would watch them and then I would talk to someone and, you know, I'd be saying like, oh yeah, I got into Harry Potter, and they'd ask which one my favourite was, and it was like, I can't really distinguish between them, to be honest, watching them all in one big go like that. But I've since had quite a few marathons, and I think my favourite is definitely The Prisoner of Azkaban. I don't know, I love the way that they do the time travel in it. I think it's done so well. I love Gary Oldman, I think he's a fantastic actor, and I just think the story in that one is so strong. One of the biggest things that shocked me when I first watched these movies in college as pretty much an adult is just how scary they are. Like, I was under the impression that they were kids' films, they were about wizards and spells, and no, they're actually incredibly dark, and every single film is about life or death, and a lot of people die. It's really, really dark for a kids' film. I didn't expect that in the slightest. There's so many strong characters in this series, and I'm actually now thinking it could be really nice to do a sketchbook spread that's Harry Potter themed because there's so many good characters that I could draw. I think it's really sad that I didn't get to watch it as a child, but I'm really happy that I'm into it now because it's such a good franchise. It's so good. So the scene that I chose is the one where McGonagall makes all the statues kind of come to life and fight for the school. And I just thought this was a really awesome pose. I don't know if it's one that you would exactly know immediately as Harry Potter, but I just absolutely love the concept. I think it's really cool. As I was painting it, I did realise that there isn't really much colour in the scene at all, because the school is generally quite brown grey and there's a lot of shadow, and obviously the statue is grey. So unfortunately this piece doesn't really have a lot of colour to it. There's also a lot of detail in the actual building that I hadn't really noticed, and I feel like painting scenes in this kind of way, you really notice all the detail that you otherwise just don't. There are statues in the background that you can see me painting, and I did very loosely try and make those because there was so much detail, and it's also quite hard painting scenes because often in the movies the background is completely blurry, so that's why I tried to make it look a little bit more loose in this one, because it is supposed to be behind, so it would be a little bit blurrier. About halfway through, I noticed that I'd got all of the elements down that I needed. I'd got the base layer down, and I was just really lacking contrast, especially on this paper. I know that once the watercolor goes down, it's very difficult to lift. So I worked very slowly in very light layers, and it kind of got to the point where I just needed to really darken it up. Whenever I create art, I always think of what Kirsty Partridge says in her YouTube videos, which is basically you just need to keep going darker, you need to go darker, you need to add the contrast. And it was at this point where I think that was the biggest problem. The entire piece was very light and it's actually really quite a dark scene, so I just had to go darker. One thing that I really need to practice are my values. I want to do value studies where I'm just using one colour and looking at a picture and actually trying to figure out the lightness and darkness of each of the elements. I'm so used to working with so many different colours and trying to get the colours correct that I don't often think about how dark or light those shades really need to be. Like if I was going to take a photo and turn it onto grayscale, are all of the values correct? Often my colours are nice, but the values aren't correct, so a lot of my pieces are missing contrast, especially when I worked on the first one, The Mandalorian. I had the exact same thing where I was just working so light right up until the point that I just had to make it dark because I was missing so much depth. Overall though, I'm really happy with this piece. I think it took about 3 hours and I did just use watercolour. I definitely added a lot more colour than what's in the original scene, but the background was really difficult to tackle. There was quite a lot going on, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I'm just peeling off the tape now, and then I'll show you the finished piece. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate all of your support. I would love to know your thoughts on the Harry Potter movies. Which one is your favourite? Mine is The Prisoner of Azkaban. What's your favourite Harry Potter movie? Comment down below, let's have a chat. Thank you for watching. I will see you on Sunday with a new video. Bye bye.